You've probably flipped over a snack wrapper and seen a number that made you pause. Sometimes it says calories. Other times it says KJ. And if you've ever wondered why the same chocolate bar can have two completely different-looking numbers depending on the country, you're not alone. Today, we're breaking down what calories and kilojoules really are, where these units came from, why some countries use one over the other, and whether they actually mean anything different for your body. Right here, on History of Simple Things. Let's start with the calorie. The concept of the calorie dates back to the 19th century. It was originally used in physics, not nutrition. Scientists needed a way to measure heat energy, and the calorie was defined as the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Later, when researchers began studying human metabolism, they realized that food releases heat energy when burned. In the late 1800s, American chemist Wilbur Olin Atwater helped pioneer the system we still use today. He measured how much energy different foods provided by literally burning them in a device called a bomb calorimeter. From his work came the familiar estimates. Carbohydrates and protein provide about 4 calories per gram, fat provides about 9 calories per gram, and alcohol provides about 7 calories per gram. Now, here's something important. When you see calorie on a food label with a capital C, it's actually short for kilocalorie. 1 dietary calorie equals 1,000 small calories in physics. So when a snack says 200 calories, that's technically 200 kilocalories or 200,000 small calories. Already you can see this is starting to get a little confusing. While the calorie was widely used in chemistry and nutrition, scientists eventually agreed on a more standardized unit of energy, the joule. The joule is part of the International System of Units, or SI system, which is the global standard used in science. It's named after English physicist James Prescott Joule, who studied the relationship between heat and mechanical work in the 1800s. In scientific terms, 1 joule is the amount of energy transferred when 1 newton of force moves an object 1 meter. That sounds very physics-heavy, but the key point is this. The joule became the official SI unit of energy. Since food energy is still energy, many countries decided to align nutrition labels with the SI system. Instead of listing calories, they list kilojoules. 1 kilojoule equals 1,000 joules, just like 1 kilocalorie equals 1,000 small calories. Here's the most important fact. Calories and kilojoules measure the same thing, energy. They're just different units. The conversion is straightforward. 1 calorie or kilocalorie equals 4.184 kilojoules. 1 kilojoule equals 0.239 calories. So if a food contains 100 calories, that's about 418 kilojoules. If it contains 1,000 kilojoules, that's about 239 calories. There is no biological difference. Your body doesn't prefer calories over kilojoules. When you eat food, your body breaks it down into molecules like glucose and fatty acids, and through metabolism, it converts that chemical energy into usable energy, mostly in the form of ATP. Whether the label says calories or kilojoules, the energy available to your cells is identical. The only difference is the size of the number. Kilojoule values are roughly 4 times larger than calorie values. That's why labels in countries using kilojoules tend to show numbers in the thousands instead of the hundreds. So, why do some countries use calories and others use kilojoules? This mostly comes down to standardization and regulation. The United States continues to use calories on food labels because that system has been in place for over a century. It's familiar to consumers, and changing it would cause confusion. Meanwhile, countries like Australia and members of the European Union use kilojoules because they follow the SI system more strictly in scientific and regulatory measurements. In fact, in places like Australia, food labels are required to display energy in kilojoules, though some products also include calories as a secondary reference. In the European Union, kilojoules must be listed, but calories are often shown alongside them for clarity. So it's not about health. It's about measurement systems and policy decisions. Does it matter for weight loss or health? Short answer, no. If you're tracking your food intake, what matters is total energy consumption relative to your energy expenditure. Whether you count 2,000 calories or roughly 8,400 kilojoules, you're tracking the same energy intake. For reference, many dietary guidelines suggest an average intake of about 2,000 calories per day for adults, which equals approximately 8,400 kilojoules. Individual needs vary based on age, sex, body size, and activity level, but the unit itself doesn't change the math. Energy balance works the same way regardless of the label. If you consume more energy than your body uses, the excess is stored, mostly as fat. If you consume less, your body draws from stored energy. The physics doesn't change just because the numbers look different. Here's something psychological. If you're used to seeing 250 calories on a snack bar, and then you suddenly see 1,050 kilojoules, it feels bigger, more dramatic, almost alarming. But it's just a unit conversion. The bar didn't suddenly become more energy-dense when it crossed a border. This is similar to how 1 kilogram sounds heavier than 2.2 pounds if you're not used to metric, even though they're the same mass. Our brains respond to the size of numbers emotionally, even when logically they represent the same quantity. There's one subtle technical detail worth mentioning. In modern science, the calorie is no longer the official unit of energy. The joule is. That's why scientific papers, physics calculations, and international standards use joules. However, in nutrition, the calorie remains deeply embedded in public awareness, especially in countries like the United States. So while scientists prefer joules, diet culture and food marketing still revolve around calories. In everyday life, both are correct. They just belong to different measurement traditions. So what's the difference between calories and kilojoules? Technically, none, at least not in what they measure. Both are units of energy. 1 calorie equals 4.184 kilojoules. That's it. No hidden nutritional twist, no secret metabolic advantage, just math. The next time you pick up a product and see energy listed in kilojoules instead of calories, you'll know you're looking at the same fuel your body has always used, just expressed in a different language of measurement. And once you understand that, those numbers stop looking intimidating and start making sense. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.